Chop, the original Guillotine League podcast. Everything you need to know to avoid the chopping block. Chop is brought to you by GuillotineLeagues.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Week 13 Flex Around and Find Out edition of Chop, the Guillotine League podcast. I'm Matthew Freedman, Matt F. the Oracle, and I'm here with Brian Johnson.
What up, Freedman?
Hey, man.
Happy Thanksgiving Eve to you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
My favorite holiday, personally. I don't know about you. I mean, it's always the one that has had football. Christmas is trying to like horn in on the football, but it's not the same. It ain't. I'm not complaining about football on Christmas now, but
yeah, Thanksgiving has always been great. Probably my favorite holiday. I mean, obviously Christmas is great. 4th of July is great. Easter is great. Obviously, these are like the food related holidays. I'm primarily driven by food. I mean, probably more than most humans, but all right, we're going to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. I've got some questions for you, some food related Thanksgiving questions for you. But first,
let's go.
In this episode, we're going to take a pessimistic look at 6 guys on the start-sit borderline. We're going to, by the way, can you guys hear that dog barking outside my window?
Is he fasting for Thanksgiving? I do that to myself. I'm going to start barking soon because I just try to, get the stomach nice and empty so I can just go full gorge. But I can hear your friend out there.
So sometimes, a little fast for Thanksgiving. Sometimes I'll do like the pre morning like workout. Or like go like exercise, do a little elliptical.
That's always the most rewarding workout too of the year.
Yes.
You feel most proud of yourself.
Yes, because it's like, I know I'm going to go earn it. You know what I mean? All right. So in this episode, we're taking a pessimistic look at 6 guys on the start-sit borderline. And then we're going to close out by highlighting 2 streamers or bench players you might want to start this week. Before that though, Brian, Thanksgiving plans, Thanksgiving traditions, any food takes, what is your general perspective on Thanksgiving?
Definitely don't like to travel. Did that in my younger days. If you do travel on Thanksgiving or travel on Christmas Day. Traveling on the actual holidays, elite. It's like the airport is just there for you and you alone. It's amazing. But when it comes to Thanksgiving, I don't have crazy food takes like ham over turkey, or I'm pretty much enjoy what you want to enjoy. I'm always curious and I'm going to ask you, Friedman, when you take up, a standard bite of food, how many items are on the fork? For me, it's like at least 3. I'm like spearing some turkey, some stuffing on the end, and at least dunking that in some mashed potatoes. I'm never like a bite of turkey. I'm an animal out there. So I don't know. Am I alone there? Is it at least 2 items, or are you a one at a timer?
All right, you're not alone there. I will have not as much as you in terms of like the 3 or 4 food items per bite.
The shoveling, I shovel. I'm a shoveler.
Yeah, I'm not so much a shoveler. I'm a little strategic with it. I had a conversation on the Fantasy Live show with Ian where we were talking about sort of like food strategy. He doesn't really save enough room for dessert because he's just focused on more of like your savory item.
Yeah.
I'm much more focused on dessert. Okay. That's what I am there for. Like I can get turkey any other time of year. I can get like whatever, all these other things almost any other time of year. But if you're going to a larger Thanksgiving where people are bringing different pies, it's like, it's going to be another year. It's going to be next Thanksgiving when we have this assemblage of pies all available. Like I'm doing my work. Like
it's the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I'm starting with pies.
All right, so you're just going through the motions with the turkey and all that.
I don't even pretend. I don't even go through the motions. Yeah, like I start with the pie. I have like a sampling of the pies, and then I go and I'll have your sweet potatoes, your green bean casserole, your turkey. I'll have that stuff, and then I'll just go straight back to the desserts. That is the professional way to do it, in my opinion. But of course, I'm just much more focused on desserts for just the holidays. Desserts.
Well, for me, try the 2 or 3 pies at the same time. Shovel in multiple pies, mix it up in there. I think, or some pumpkin pie and pecan pie. Can't go wrong with that combo. I don't think that's like a thunder and lightning.
Wow. I will say
Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw. That's not Thunder Lane. That was Ron Dane and Tiki Barber. But anyway,
I will say I have never done the two pies in one bite thing. I'm a pie purist. Like I just kind of like, oh, I'm eating some apple pie. I'm having the apple pie here. But
all
hey,
right.
to each his own. I will say there's no wrong way to partake in pie. You know what I mean? Whatever it is that brings you enjoyment, go for it when it comes to pie, Thanksgiving, the holidays, etc. All
What
right.
is the ride or die pie? Just to close the loop here. For me, it's pumpkin. I'm a pumpkin on Thanksgiving. It's got to be pumpkin pie for me. If I had to pick one, what about you? I know this is an impossible question from what
No.
all you've
Well,
said.
no,
But,
I've given this I've given too much time of my life, frankly, to thinking about pies. Um, so let me ask some questions here. Where is pie outside of the holiday season? Or like where's pumpkin pie specifically outside of the holiday season for you? Right? It's probably not
yeah,
number 1. It's
no,
probably not even on the list.
yeah, it's. I mean, I would eat it, but it's out of mind, really. Yeah, you're not
Right.
thinking about it.
So my feeling is that if pumpkin pie is not even on the list at any other time of year, I don't know if it deserves to be number 1 during a specific chunk
Oh,
of the year. You know what I
fair,
mean?
fair. Yeah, you're going for the universal appeal. I get it. I get it.
You know, so for me, that means cherry is number 1 because I could
Cherry.
eat cherry any time of the year. I feel like it goes great in the winter seasons, but it's also like, hey, it's 4th of July. Let's have some cherry pie. I feel like you can have cherry pie any time of the year and it fits the season.
Making me think of some Warrant. Remember Warrant, sweet cherry pie?
Oh, absolutely. Make your grown man cry.
Lamarca,
Yeah.
we should give producer Matt Lamarca a heads up. He could have that sound clip ready. He's so
Yeah.
elite, he might even just throw it in at some
Yeah,
point.
sweet
But
cherry pie. So
I can
there
close my eyes and picture watching that music video at 8 years old. Taught MTV
yes.
taught me a lot back then.
Yes, an elite 80s music video. Like that you
Top
could
notch.
not get a more 80s music video than that one.
Yep.
All right. Let's let's
Don't
get
make them like they
into
used to, and then they probably shouldn't.
right. Yeah, they probably should not make music videos like that anymore. All right, so let's get into flex around and find out. I'm going to start. I'm looking at Carolina Panthers running back Rico Dowdle. The Panthers are hosting the Rams here. The Panthers are 10.5 point underdogs. So just off the bat, an extremely subpar situation for a running back to be in as that big of a dog. And then you look at the matchup specifically. The Rams are number 1 in defense against running backs based on the Xfinity boost metric, which you can find in our DVP defense versus position tool. Running backs relative to what they normally do have performed worse against the Rams than any other team this year. By the way, the Xfinity uh, fantasy boost, great resource that people should check out. And it reminds me, the flex around and find out segment brought to you by Xfinity. Imagine all your football all in one place. Easy Xfinity. Imagine that. So we have this really tough matchup going against the Rams, who are massive favorites. So the situation is bad. And then there's the usage and the production. So Dowdle was awesome in his extended run earlier in the year. Then Hubbard returned. They split work for a little bit. And then weeks 9 through 11, the Panthers gave Dowdle a real lead back role, and he had a 94 utilization score in those 3 games. Like great production, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns in that stretch. But then last week, a 67% rush share, a 56% route rate, a 69, an unnice 69 utilization score. He split the work with Hubbard, 74 scoreless yards on 10 opportunities. It just makes me feel like there is the possibility that the Panthers are starting to decrease the workload for Rico Dowdle. And then you put that on top of, hey, he's maybe not going to see that much work because of the matchup. And the matchup is tough. It's just easy to look elsewhere. So that is my first flex around and find out. Rico Dowdle going against the Rams. All right. So, Brian, you have a flex around and find out for the people who are listening to this in advance of those Thanksgiving Day games, Jared Goff going against the Packers, what is it that you dislike about him this week?
Yeah, I had to throw one Thanksgiving player in this Thanksgiving themed episode, and Goff has been a solid guillotine producer for pretty much the whole season. And 6 of his last 8 games, multiple touchdown passes. Historically, has played well on Thanksgiving, averaging 20 plus points per game. But I'm looking elsewhere, quarterback this week, especially when we're down to the final 7 teams in most guillotine leagues. Goff right on the fringe of a top 8 quarterback this season, but the matchup just brutal on paper. Yes, Goff and the Lions will be a much tougher test than J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings were last week for Green Bay. But going back before that game, Jameis Winston, 201 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jalen Hurts, 183 and just 1 passing touchdown. Bryce Young, 102, 0 passing touchdowns, a pick the week before that. It is a short week. I just Goff, for what it's worth something. These teams did meet in week 1, had 225 and 1 passing touchdown, 1 pick. That just kind of feels like the game we're going to get from Goff. They're going to lean on Gibbs like they did on Sunday. So I'm out on Goff this week. I think we'll unearth a better quarterback option that you could probably stream over Jared Goff this week later in the show.
Yeah, I'm not as pessimistic on Goff as you are, but I'm also not like really desirous to start him either. And I do agree with the assessment. It feels like a Jahmyr Gibbs game this week. The Lions as home favorites, man, Gibbs has been awesome since Dan Campbell took over play calling duties. And if Gibbs is going off, I think that means there's probably less opportunity, less production for Jared Goff there.
Granted, Gibbs takes a 80-yard, screen pass 80 yards to the house, and I look like a moron. But yeah, I don't know. Chance I'm willing to take on this show for the people. We'll see how it goes.
Yep. All right. So for my next flex around and find out, I'm looking at the Black Friday game, specifically Bears wide receiver Rome Odunze on the road playing the Eagles. So in weeks 1 through 4, before the bye week, he had a 92% route rate, an 86 utilization score, 296 yards, and 5 touchdowns, receiving 8.8 targets per game, 8.5 yards per target. So he was getting fed the ball and he was super efficient with the usage. But after the week 5 bye, he still has a 90% route rate. So he's still on the field running routes at basically the same clip, but he has just a 61 utilization score, 357 yards, 1 touchdown on 7 targets per game, 7.3 yards per target. So since the bye, he has seen fewer targets and he has been way less efficient at turning those targets into yards and especially touchdowns. And this has coincided with the development of the Bears running the ball more, and then the development of rookies, wide receiver Luther Burden and tight end Colston Loveland. So now the Bears have essentially 4 wide receivers and 2 tight ends competing for 4 spots on the field at any given moment. And then there's the matchup. It's tough against number 1 cornerback Quinion Mitchell for the Eagles. Mitchell does shadow coverage a decent amount. I imagine that they will put him on Rome Odunze. The Eagles are number 2 in defensive pass DVOA against number 1 wide receivers. So he's not getting the ball as much, and then he has the tough matchup. And then this game is on Friday. So it's a shorter week. And as much as I respect Ben Johnson, there is a long established trend of first-year head coaches struggling on short rest. And I think there's a chance we see that come to bear against the Bears. So you put all of that together, big picture, at this stage in the season with no teams on the bye, I'm just hoping to have a more reliable stud to start than Rome Odunze, who, I think long-term still has a lot of potential in the beginning month of the season, obviously flashed his upside, but since then has kind of settled down into like wide receiver 2 territory. And I would just hope to be able to start someone better than that this week. Brian.
Yeah.
I believe
I'm with you on Rome for sure. He's we talked about him on the last show, Jameson Williams. He's almost fallen into that category of kind of just the potential is there, but the floor is scary. Definitely not consistent enough to
So Brian, I believe it's kind of become a trend on this show each week to say something bad about someone in the Vikings offense.
Yeah.
You are carrying the torch this week. Justin Jefferson going against the Seahawks.
Yeah, it's getting tougher to recommend sits on this show because they are good players, and Justin Jefferson is just someone you look in your starting lineup and you don't ever contemplate benching him. But I think you got to. I don't know what more else there is to say here. I guess Max Brosmer, as a fellow Golden Gopher alumnus, is going to be an upgrade over JJ McCarthy probably. But at Seattle, I mean, Seattle just held Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams to 8 collective catches for like 76 yards. And how can you trust Justin Jefferson right now? There are 7 teams left, 24 eligible spots between wide receiver and flex, right? No, sorry, 28. Or no, 6 teams. Not enough spots for Justin Jefferson to be trusted in your lineup. Let's put it that way. At Seattle, with Max Brosmer making his professional debut in the most hostile of environments. So it's just a plea to throw Justin Jefferson on your bench. He is like the perfect contrarian DFS play this week, which is not what you want in a guillotine league. So that's all I really have to say about that. I wish I had more heady stats, but I don't think they're needed. Just Justin Jefferson ain't it right now. It's not all his fault, but you cannot trust him this week at Seattle. I'm benching him. I don't think I have him in a guillotine league, but I'm contemplating benching him in a standard league, even still with 12 teams. It's that bad for the Vikings offense.
Yeah, and I will say, I don't know that we can take for granted that Max Brosmer is better than JJ McCarthy. No. Like he might be. There's certainly, I mean, it's a very low bar.
If he is, that's still not good, right? It's still could be a total disaster. It's
yeah.
I feel bad for Brosmer, really. Kevin O'Connell should just suit up. Former quarterback. He was drafted. So you go out there, O'Connell. Whisper to yourself. Anyway.
Yeah. So, and to your point about Justin Jefferson and that offense, I think it's going to be more of a run heavy approach anyway for the Vikings, going against a defense that is really decimated at the linebacking unit and then also missing its strong safety or potentially missing its strong safety. You've got your third string quarterback back there. It just feels like if they are going to win, which probably isn't going to happen, they're like 10.5 point road dogs. But if they're going to win, it's like, oh man, Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason just absolutely went off against a defense that is really injured in the second level. Like that would be the way. And if that happens, maybe that doesn't mean any good thing for Justin Jefferson. But I mean, Max Brosmer, man, like a third string guy who started in college at University of New Hampshire, transferred into Minnesota, undrafted. It just feels like this is probably not going to be better than JJ McCarthy. And the JJ McCarthy experience has been plenty bad for Justin Jefferson and really everyone in that Vikings offense.
Yeah, you could almost argue just dropping Jefferson right now and someone might bid on him. But don't do that, but don't start him. But enough Vikings talk.
Yeah. All right. So for my third flex around and find out, I'm looking at Chargers tight end Oronde Gadsden playing against the Raiders. So the Raiders defense, it sucks, right? But it's actually not bad against tight ends. They've allowed the 4th fewest fantasy points to tight ends. They're number 5 in the Xfinity tight end fantasy boost. So the matchup, like, it's not, it's not the kind of thing to where it's like, oh, we're playing the Raiders, everyone gets this massive boost. It's actually historically not that great for tight ends. And then Gadsden has gotten a solid 5 to 6 targets per game since breaking into the lineup. And that's fine, but that's not likely to increase much more because he's competing against one of the league's best wide receiver rooms. And then running back Omarion Hampton might return this week. If he does, that means the Chargers could maybe go a little more run heavy, pass the ball a little bit less, which would impact everyone in the receiving game. And looking at Gadsden specifically, earlier in the year, he was incredibly efficient with his opportunities. In his first 7 games, he had an obscene 84.2% catch rate, and that allowed him to convert targets into yards at a really high rate, 11.9 yards per target. That is like Alec Pierce type of numbers, like Jameson Williams type of numbers, right? Like even beyond that, right? That is an unsustainable number. And then predictably and very emphatically, it has regressed over the past 2 games where he's had a 45.5% catch rate and 4.9 yards per target. Now, the reality is somewhere between those two extremes, but the big picture is this: the volume isn't great for Gadsden, and it's not likely to get better, which means he needs to have elite efficiency to perform to expectations. And I don't want to trust on efficiency with a guy who has been good for only half a season. And then, especially when it's a below average matchup, like I think you can trust efficiency a little bit more if you've seen a guy do it for a couple of seasons. But we're still talking about a rookie. Maybe he just kind of ran hot in his first few NFL games and he regresses back to reality. So I just kind of don't want to trust it because we haven't seen it and the target volume isn't there to support anything less than elite efficiency. And with every team available this week, there are just too many options to go with. But one option I do love, that is Xfinity. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to have Xfinity. All the games, all in one place. They have the Sports Zone where you can get every pro football game, and then over 1,000 college games with highlights and alerts. It's all in one place. There's the multi-view where you can be in up to 4 stadiums at once. There's the Xfinity fan view with live scores, odds and stats. It's all in one place. It is personalized to you. And then, of course, there is the stunning Xfinity Enhanced 4K and the voice remote, which makes watching football as easy as saying football. I actually absolutely love that. So learn more at xfinity.com. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees are extra and subject to change. All right, Brian, let's get to your final flex around and find out. And that is Michael Pittman going against the Texans. 100% agree with you on that. This is to say nothing of the fact that like Michael Pittman might not really even be the number one wide receiver on his team, but he's kind of treated as if he is. But so many reasons to fade Michael Pittman this week. Give us the breakdown.
Yeah, Tyler Warren, who obviously plays tight end, has kind of stolen the thunder. And of course, everyone thinks of Jonathan Taylor when they think of the Colts offense. But yeah, Michael Pittman quietly having a top 12 wide receiver season, has scored or topped 100 yards in all but 3 games. But this could very well be the 4th where he fails to hit either benchmark. And I'm worried about Pittman hitting double-digit PPR points, basically. We've picked on a lot of wide receivers who have faced the Texans on this show, and most have been correct. And the secondary for the Texans is stingy as they come, especially over the last 5 games. Opposing wide receiver rooms averaging just 9 catches for 150 yards. That's as a whole. Awful numbers. This is the first meeting between these two divisional opponents this season, but Pittman's last 3, going back to last year, 1 catch, 16 yards, 4 catches, 31 yards, 5 catches, 44 yards. Didn't score in any of those 3. So history not on Pittman's side. So, yeah, even though you look at overall numbers and you're like, top 12 wide receiver, maybe top 10 in some formats, I'm sitting Pittman this week, looking elsewhere.
If you look at the utilization report, he and Alec Pierce have identical route rates, but then Alec Pierce is ahead of him in all of the other things. Like, well, not in target share, but ahead of him in air yards, ahead of him in end zone targets, ahead of him in yards receiving per game, well ahead of him in that metric. I mean, basically, Pittman has just been more efficient at turning targets into touchdowns. But if you just kind of look at like the underlying stuff that kind of matters and like long term tends to be more predictive, I mean, Alec Pierce looks like the number 1 wide receiver on that team, just in terms of how they use him. So, I mean, it will
He's
be
come a long,
really,
yeah. He's come a long way. It was like last year, or at least 2 years ago, he was getting dragged because all he did was run around. Like he ran the most miles in the NFL without like getting a target, or so he was just doing cardio on it. But yeah, Yeah, I think what you're saying is he is the number one wide receiver on that team, but he's not. I'm with you, but that's not the public perception
Right.
just yet. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's definitely trending that way.
So I think it's the situation where, as you mentioned, it's not the perception, and so Pittman, his sort of stock in the market is kind of a little bit elevated, and then there's the really tough matchup on top of this. So, with you on that. All right, let's get to close out the show. Let's get to the guys that we would consider pivoting to, whether it's sort of a quarterback streamer or a bench player that you would elevate into the starting lineup this week. And the guy I'm looking at now is the guy I talked about last week, Arizona Cardinals quarterback Jacoby Brissett, going on the road to play Tampa Bay. And I will say, I talked about him last week. It's basically the same thesis, but it worked out last week. He had 18.7 fantasy points, was the QB8 on the week. And I think that's kind of the range where he probably finishes this week. In his 6 starts this year, he's passed for almost 1,900 yards, 11 touchdowns with just 3 interceptions. He's had almost 100 yards rushing on the ground with a touchdown there. And then you look at the matchup. The Bucs are number 3 in most fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks. They could be without their top edge rusher in Hassan Reddick and their top cornerback in Jamel Dean, and then their top backup cornerback in Benjamin Morrison. I think it's just another situation of like, oh, Jacoby Brissett's playing, and the opponent that he's playing is not all that great at stopping passing attacks. Okay, just kind of insert him in. You don't really have to do like much more thinking than that. Like Jacoby Brissett, it feels like what he is doing this year is akin to kind of what we saw out of like Joe Flacco a couple of years ago without the wins, right? But like he's just out there like airing out the football. I mean, he's averaging like almost like 300 yards. Actually, he's averaging over 300 yards passing per game. It's just unreal stuff. And like it's opening up the offense. It's unlocked Trey McBride. It's unlocked Michael Wilson randomly. I mean, Jacoby Brissett is out there like actually playing quarterback at a level in Arizona that we haven't seen for a number of years. And maybe it's just like an extended hot streak, and that's fine. But I just don't think the hot streak ends this week.
And what's crazy is he's been doing it for the most part without Marvin Harrison. We won't have this week, but he clearly doesn't need him really. I got one nugget or a cherry to throw on top of all the good stuff you said about Brissett. I just had a feeling there was another angle here, so I went to Wikipedia, and lo and behold, Jacoby Brissett, born in West Palm Beach, Florida native. We got a homecoming game on our hands, baby. Yeah, there we go.
The only thing that's better than the homecoming game is like the revenge game. If it's like or like the revenge homecoming game. You know what
the
I mean?
double one that I take credit for and invented, and I might look it. I won't look it up, but I invented the spite game where if let's maybe Matt Lamarca can look up where Jacoby Brissett was drafted. So this is just say the Bucs drafted a quarterback in the same realm that Jacoby Brissett was drafted. And then it's a spite game. They're like, oh, you drafted Joe Blow over me back in, I don't know, 2013. I remember that. And sometimes there's some really good ones, where someone took wide receiver A over wide receiver B, and then they gets to play them. So that's the spite game.
I mean, I think the ultimate spite game, and you would remember this, I would remember this, and it's the season for it. Randy Moss as a rookie going against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
He had just 3 receptions. All of them went for touchdowns. It was like 160 something yards and 3 touchdowns as a rookie in the Cowboys hometown.
Yep.
Unreal. I
think of Amon-Ra St. Brown has like half the league is like spite games for him because like 14 wide receivers went. But yeah, the Randy Moss all timer.
Yeah, absolutely brutal. I remember watching that. I remember watching that and just thinking that guy should be on the Cowboys right now, and he's not.
Sorry, yeah, you got a Cowboys hat on. Yeah,
it happens. It's you get used to feeling pain. I feel like that was actually maybe the first time as a Cowboys fan where it was like, wait a minute, things are not really going the way that they should.
Hey, George Pickens for a third. It's making up for it a little bit though. It's been a long
That's
time
true.
coming, but yeah,
That's true. Of course, Jerry Jones is going to have to pay him,
he
and we
does
know
have to
how
do that.
Jerry feels about paying his players. All right, so my flex, my streamer, Jacoby Brissett. Who is the guy that you are pivoting to this week?
I'm shocked I'm saying it, but I'm saying his name with confidence. I would never have expected this at any point in the season, but it's Pittsburgh running back Kenneth Gainwell at home against the Bills this week. Gainwell has carved out a really nice role in the Steelers' offense, even with Jalen Warren as starting running back since Week 9. Gainwell scored higher on Dwayne McFarland's utilization report, 69 to Warren's 57. Gainwell is only getting 25% of the rush attempts, but his route participation, 62%. He's getting 85% of the long down and distance snaps, 97% of the 2-minute snaps. Kenneth Gainwell is 30th in catches right now among all wide receivers in the NFL, tied with teammate DK Metcalf. I mean, in PPR, the floor is pretty safe with Gainwell, who's been scoring touchdowns. They use him in the Wildcat inside the 10-yard line. He's a flex-worthy player against the Bills, who've just been getting shredded by running backs the last 2 weeks, last 2 games, surrendering 177 combo yards and 5 total touchdowns. So Gainwell essentially a lock for 15 opportunities in this game, maybe more carries and targets. So Kenneth Gainwell, he's probably rostered, but he might be available for free in Guillotine Leagues right now with only 7 players left. So Kenny G, fire it up. Fire up the trumpet or the sax, whatever the hell you
Saxophone.
the
Yeah.
sax master.
The Kenny Gainwell stuff is really intriguing, and going against this Bills defense, which is bottom 3 in most run efficiency metrics. Yeah, absolute smash spot, and the question always is kind of like the split between Jalen Warren and Gainwell. But because of Gainwell's usage in the receiving game, probably has a high enough floor. And I will say, this is like the Mike Tomlin spot. So you have the Steelers at home, they're underdogs, they're coming off of a loss. Mike Tomlin, for his career in that spot, is 13-4 against the spread. And even though they're underdogs in that spot, on the money line, Mike Tomlin is 11-6 in that spot. Even though it's like they're underdogs, they should lose more often than they win. 11-6 when he's a home dog coming off of a loss. This is just like the Mike Tomlin voodoo spot where somehow his team wins games that they shouldn't, and the Bills are vulnerable. Right. I mean, I know they have extra rest.
Yeah.
They have extra rest coming off of Thursday Night Football, but they just lost to a team that they should have beat in the Texans. It feels like it could be very easy for them to do a similar thing. And a lot of it has to do with that run defense, right? They are vulnerable against the run. And if you can't stop the run, even if you have a good offense, you're not going to be able to score as many points as you should. And that just creates a tighter game and a situation where Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell could both have good games, because in that Arthur Smith offense, they're just establishing it on the ground. So I can definitely see the Kenny Gainwell enthusiasm in the spot. I do like the call there.
All right. Right on.
All right. So Thanksgiving, it's coming up. Like that marks the time of the year to where it's like, where the fantasy regular season is almost over. The calendar year is winding down. It's my favorite time of the year, like Thanksgiving to Christmas, and like after Christmas, all that, best time of the year. Cause we've got football really ramping up. Like these are the games that football games always mean something, but these are the games where like you can now see really specifically what's at stake.
No doubt.
For every team, it's like, oh, this is a must-win game, because if we don't win this game, our odds to make the playoffs drop from like 50% to 20%. So absolutely love this stuff. Producer extraordinaire Matt LaMarca letting us know some Thanksgiving news. Jaden Reed is out. Not a surprise there. Good to get the confirmation. And yeah, those inactives for Thanksgiving are going to start to come in soon with the practice reports on Wednesday. So be sure to monitor all of that. Brian, you have a fantastic Thanksgiving.
You too, my
Everyone
friend.
listening, thank you. Everyone listening, be sure to have a wonderful Thanksgiving and know that we are very thankful for you for listening to the show, for supporting everything that we have going on with Guillotine Leagues and, of course, Fantasy Life. We are very much appreciative, and we hope that you have a fantastic Thanksgiving and, of course, fantasy endeavors in those Guillotine Leagues. All right. That is going to do it for this Flex Around and Find Out edition of Chop the Guillotine League podcast. Best of luck this week, and may your neck avoid the blade. For Brian, for producer Matt LaMarca, I am Matthew Freedman. See you next episode.